Hello?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bird Family Micro Homestead.
She's like a little commercial. I don't know what the deal is. Today we're going to work on setting up a brooder back here in the corner where we normally keep our mower. We've got 12 new laying hens coming as chicks this week. What day is that?
We're actually going to go get that.
Yeah, we're going to go
27th, the 27th of May, 2020.
27th of May, 2020. So we're going to clean out the garage a little bit. Some stuff I've been letting pile up needs to get cleaned up. And we're going to set up a brooder over here in the corner. And I really, at this point, have no idea exactly how we're going to set that up. I've had a bunch of different ideas. The point I'm trying to do is we're only going to have chicks in here for a couple weeks. It's so late in the spring that we'll get them out to the coop pretty quickly because they'll have their own separate coop completely. And so because of that, here you go, Macie. Because of that, I'm going to try to do it as quickly and cheaply and easily as we possibly can. I'm going to try to use as much scraps that I have around the house and spend as little money on it as possible. In the past, we used to put them in big totes. I'll show you that later. But for now, we're going to have 12 hens this week. And then 2 weeks after that, in early to mid-June, we're getting 25 meat chickens. So at that point, we'll move the hens out and put the meat chickens in the same little brooder. And so we need something set up in our garage for maybe up to 5 weeks or so, and then we will have everything outside. So Macie's showing off her twirling skills in the background.
No,
apparently. All right, we'll talk to you later. We'll get this garage cleaned out real quick. All right, so we got that cleaned out. You can see I was letting projects get all piled up and I had a big mess on my hands. So got it all cleaned out. So I wanted to let you know a little bit about what we're doing. So just to talk for a little bit, get that light out of the back of my head. This is just stuff that I'm learning as I talk with other people and as I research more on YouTube. So I'm no expert at any of this. I'm just learning. Hopefully you're here because you want to learn as well. So, it is May 23rd. On May 27th, we're getting 12 more 1-day-old baby chicks.
Sorry.
She can't help herself. She likes to talk. So anyhow, 12 of those coming on the 27th. Baby chicks, you need to put in a brooder to begin with, and you need to keep them warm and make sure they're ready to go outside. So We've done these in the past. We've done them much earlier around what's typically spring break for our area of the country, and so I keep them in the basement or in the garage in a really just a big plastic tote. But fairly quickly, it's amazing how quickly chicks grow, and so they grow pretty quickly, and very quickly you're trying to figure out something to do with them, and you're hoping the weather warms up enough so you can get them outside to their coop. So in this case, it's certainly going to be warm enough very quickly. It's already today, it's going to be 80, 82, something like that outside here in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. And so in all reality, you just need to get some good bedding down there for them and a place for them to consume food and water for a number of weeks until they get mature enough to get out into your coop if you've got a coop already. And I'll show you our coop later. One of our chores we've got yet to do is to clean up the coop, clean up the run, and get all that ready for some gardening. We're going to use some compost and mix it in and use it for our gardening. So the plan now is I just want to be able to put down some deep bed mulch. It's really not that deep for chicks, and I don't want, if they spill a lot, they make messes, and when it spills, I don't want it to seep down through the chips. And oh, here's another one. This is Ella. She needed coffee, so we sent her for coffee. Anyhow, as they make messes, it would seep down through the mulch, which will be just wood chips, and would stain the bottom of the garage. So I'm really just going to build a wooden box frame, probably no more than 12 to 24 inches high. Again, using scrap material around the house, I'm probably just going to take some old drywall I've got downstairs that have left over from another project and cut it, make a frame out of it, and then to keep stuff from seeping through the wood chips, I'm probably just going to take one of my tarps from around the house somewhere. I think I've got one. If I don't, I'll go buy a real cheap one at Tractor Supply or Lowe's or Home Depot, something like that. Lay it inside the box, fill the box full of deep bedding mulch, and then build up a little bit of a fencing system, because they grow up quickly. They start trying to fly, even though they can't really fly, but they can jump and get a little bit of air, and they'll get out of something fairly quickly. So to give us 2 to 3 weeks in the house, or in the garage specifically, in this system, I'll probably need to make sure it's got, I don't know, 3 foot high barrier that they can't get out of. I don't know, we may learn that that's wrong and I got to put a lid on top of it or something like that. So anyhow, that's the plan for the day, and we're just going to try to get set up. You need a place to keep them, something to keep them warm. I typically hang a heat lamp from the ceiling. I've got different hooks in the garage for like bikes and stuff like that. That's a bike hook right there. There's a bike hook right in there. So we'll just hang from a hook, like a ratchet strap or something like that, and put a heat lamp on it, and then just have a little platform down in there, and we'll show you that as we go. So that's what we're going to work on today, and hopefully you'll find this useful. You can make this as fancy or use as much cheap scrap stuff you've got around the house as you want. Right now, our priority is to get something quickly together that will last for 2 to 3 weeks for a round of chicks, and to do it as quickly, cheaply, efficiently, and not worry about reuse for future sets of chicks. So that's the plan, that's our priority, that's the intent of what we're trying to accomplish here today, and hopefully you'll find that useful to you. All right, we hunted and gathered scraps around the house. First, I was able to find this tarp in the box right here. Macie, will you open that up? That's a tarp we use in the fall to collect all the leaves and stuff. It's huge. It's way too big for what we're doing, but I own it already and I don't have to go spend any money. So we'll fold it appropriately and just figure out a way to make it work. I just want to line the bottom. I may end up making the whole sides and everything out of this tarp and just square it off appropriately with some of the other scraps I found around the house. So we have some right there. You can see this is some leftover wood from some different projects I've got around the house. I have very little left at this point. During the quarantine, I used it as a good opportunity to kind of consider, if I didn't have access to Home Depot or Lowe's anymore, what do I have around the house and what could I use? And so I've decided to try to use as little stuff as possible from Home Depot and Lowe's just for a moment, just as a test run, trial run of that kind of philosophy. And so I'm trying that again on this project to see if I can get away with just using what I got around the house. And then on the back side of all this, as we're all starting to come out of a new freedom away from our secure in place situations that we're all dealing with in our own individual states or countries or whatever, it will reset my mindset a little bit, and I'll further consider what I'm going to keep around the house and for these sorts of situations. So again, we've got some wood, and then over here in the corner I've got some leftover drywall from some previous projects. And so that leftover drywall, I'm going to try to form a base, like a square base, to hold the shape of the tarp and to create the edges of where the mulch will be and stuff like that. Macie's being my shower person. So just little scraps like that and stuff. It doesn't have to be huge. Like I said, typically we just put them in a big tote, big plastic tote, line the bottom of it, and just put like a grate of some sort on top. But this time we want to make something a little bit bigger. We've got a few more hens coming, and then we've got the meat chickens, so we'll have 25 at one time, and we've never had that many before. Most we've ever had starting off is 12. So we'll have 12 on May 27th, and then June 10th we'll have 25 more chickens coming. And so when the meat chickens come on the 10th, we'll move the laying hens out to their coop, and they should be good to go. If we have any cold nights, I'll put a heater out there and they'll be just fine. So chicken math, yeah.
1 + 1 = 49.
Yeah, we'll have 49 chickens after we get done with this, and my wife, Miss Amy, is very excited about that. She loves these chickens and will really enjoy having them around the house. So let's get set up and we'll do some work, and we'll just figure it out as we go, because that's my plan. I'm going to try to frame some kind of cube out of wood and drywall, line the whole thing with a tarp, and see what happens. So that's the plan. I'll maybe end up time-lapsing something here after we get set up. All right, I think I got the design laid out. What I'm going to do is build a 4-foot by 4-foot box. I've got a couple strips of 4-foot long by 16-inch tall pieces of drywall. So I've got 2 of those already. I'll just make 2 more out of the scraps that I've got left. And then we're going to go 3 foot high on the cube. So with my scraps, I'll have to rip. I've got so few scraps. I'm going to rip some of these 2x4s down into 2x2 lumber. And ultimately I'll have 4 vertical pieces that are 3 foot tall, and then I'll build a frame around the top for material that's 2x2, or yeah, 2x2s again, and we'll go 4, 4, 4, 4 to make a 4-foot square to match the bottom, and then we'll lay the tarp inside of all that and kind of secure it up however we see fit when we get to that point. It may end up being zip ties. I may screw some stuff together. Again, that's just a tarp that I use to drag leaves around in the fall, and so I don't care if it's got a few screw holes in it and stuff like that. So all right, we'll get that set up. I'll rip down some lumber and we'll get everything together. All right, so I got my table saw set up. It's ready to go. We're just going to rip down a couple 2x4s to make sure we've got enough lumber. This doesn't have to be structurally very strong at all. So there's no use to use full 2x4s when I'm short of material and I'm just trying to use up some scraps. So I'll rip these 2 down and then we'll see where we go next. So we got those cut. That was loud. Got those cut. I'm gonna cut some drywall and cut all the wood to length, and I'll show it all to you, lay it all out, and then maybe we'll do a time lapse around the assembly of it all. There's Macie. All right, so I got the drywall out here where I was cutting with the table saw, and I have these two scrap pieces, two pieces that are this size. It's 4 foot long by 16 inches tall. That's a typical scrap size in drywall, just because studs are typically on 16-inch centers and the way people cut stuff. So you got a typical drywall width, typical drywall spacing of studs, and so I ended up with two pieces like this. So I'm going to take this other scrap piece that's laying underneath of me here, and I'm going to cut two more pieces that are 4 foot long by 16 inches tall, and then we'll be able to make a box out of that. So again, nothing perfect here. I'm just using what happens to be around the house, and trying to show people that they can do this. Backyard chickens are not that hard, and there's a lot of enjoyment you can get out of them. So here we go. All right, so now I've got four pieces of drywall that are 4 foot long by 16 inches tall, and we're gonna go frame those up in place using some of the wood that we ripped down just a little bit ago.
Dad, I think
There's my buddy Lucy. She helps me out a lot. What's the matter?
the thing is cracking on you.
So, I had to sit down so that I could frame this correctly because the work's going to happen behind me. But we got everything together. I've got the little drywall pieces that I'm going to use to frame the box. I've got some 2x2s, and so we're going to put it together, and then we'll figure out what to do with the tarp after that. So we'll let this time lapse for a little bit and see if I can get it together fairly efficiently for you. That the focus right. I'm not sure what was going on there. Okay, so got that all boxed up, roughed up. One of the things I've been struggling with along this process of in kind of building this up as we go and kind of figuring out as we go is the height of that whole box up at 3 feet is kind of hard to get in there and get at the chicks. I'm probably the only one that would be able to reach down in there. And so I've been trying to figure out how could I do a door. Again, door complicates things. You got to have hinges, or maybe you do, maybe you don't. I guess you could build a wall that moves and comes back or whatever. But as we were putting together, I realized that we probably could just not screw this down, and as we after we put the tarp on top, we can just remove this, and then the tarp will hang down in here. And I'm sure that doesn't make sense. I'm not doing a good job describing it. We'll just have to show it. So next thing we're going to work on is laying that tarp in there and see what that looks like. And then we'll put some mulch in there. All right, so here's what happens sometimes when you're making stuff from scratch. My plan was to put that tarp inside And as we tried to fold it and make it work, I just realized that's not going to work. So we're going to switch, and we're going to move the whole system, lay the tarp down, put the system on top of it, and then we'll fold the tarp up from the outside. And so that's the next thing we're going to try here. I'll move the camera back a little bit so you can see a little bit more of this. Okay, so that seems to be working. Now we're just take the sides, we'll fold them up, and we'll attach them. We may end up having to lower the very top row so it's down at the right height, but we're going to try to start without lowering it at all and see what happens. So we'll get those screwed up right now. So something messed up at the end of the video there, but anyhow, next steps are we're going to set up the chicken water station, the chicken feed station, the heat lamp, and what's the other thing? Oh yeah, the wood chips. We'll put wood chips in there and get that ready to go. So we'll do that here in just a second. That right there is my buddy Lucy. She hangs out with me all the time when I come outside. Yesterday she was 11 years old, and she's been the best dog. We don't really deserve her, but we've been happy to have her. So she's taking a nap. All right, so I think I got everything together to do the next phase and to do a next little time lapse for you. I want to talk you through a couple things, and then we'll kind of put everything together in a time lapse. First of all, when you have new chickens, they need water. Chicks, you can't use a really big waterer because they're so small at first that they can't really get up to some of the bigger waterers that you use. So we start with one real small one like this.
We got it at Tractor Supply, both of these just at
Here's a little feeder for chicks, and we've got different stages of equipment as they get a little bit bigger. So this is just the initial chick stage. And, excuse me, ma'am.
Sorry.
Typically, I just put a little bit of wood in the bottom of the roost or whatever to set those on top of, because you end up putting wood chips all around it. So in the bottom of the roost, there'll be these sitting on the ground before I put the wood chips in. Then we'll put the wood chips in so that they end up about flush with the top of this. And then I can set the water and the feeder right on top of that, spread out so that they can get in between, and some chicks can be over here drinking while some are over here feeding. And that way they'll be on a nice level surface and won't be, if you set it right on top of the mulch, the wood chips, these things will get fall over and make a mess on you. So those are the couple things. The other piece, another thing you have to have, excuse me, ma'am.
Sorry.
There's a heat lamp right there. I've got this heat lamp sitting outside. We're going to move the whole brooder so that fits inside of it, because I've got it hanging from a bike hook sitting at the top of my garage, and then we just use a ratchet strap. And with a ratchet strap, you can move it up and down as you need to regulate the heat at the very bottom. So we'll set this up. And we'll move a few things around and set a few things up, and then we'll show you the final results. All right, so we got everything together there. We ended up with, I'll show you here. That's what it looks like down inside the brooder.
It's real spacey. I really love it.
So you can see the watering here, feeder there. They're both up on top of the wood heat chips here. We got the heat lamp hanging in the middle. I was a little concerned it was too close to the edge, so we put in this extra little, just laid this in here for right now to make sure the ratchet strap is hanging right in the middle there. So, and I don't know if you noticed during the time lapse, but we were able to fashion a little bit of a doorway lay down flap right there. And once it starts to be too low, or the chicks can get up, then we can put that back up there and we'll screw it together. But it looks like I'm running out of batteries on my camera. That's all I've got for today. If you like these videos, we're going to try to keep making more and more content for you that's similar to this. You can like this video, you can comment. We can answer all kinds of questions, and we can help you figure it out. If we don't know, we'll try to look it up. Subscribe if you'd like to see some more stuff. Macie started her own little YouTube channel recently. It's called Christ Daily, where she's doing some little Bible study stuff for young ladies her age. So you can check that out as well. We'll probably put that down in the description or something like that. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll give you some highlights when we pick up the chicks later this week and put them in. Talk to you later.